kind of philosophy, and I would like to see. I would like to see less but better. How's that?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Sounds good to me. You know what, Adam? If industrial design were a flower garden, you'd be the dandelion infestation choking the roses.
Aw, thanks, Josh.
Yes.
Welcome to Engineer vs. Designer.
The podcast.
For engineers, designers, and people saving the world one plastic bottle at a time. My name is Adam, industrial designer of CADjunkie.com.
And my name is Josh, mechanical engineer of SolidSmack.com. As everybody knows by now, this show comes in 3 amazing halves. This week we're looking at a green Kickstarter initiative and what it means to be an industrial designer consultant in the Kickstarter connected world. We'll start with a quick fact smack courtesy of SolidSmack.com.
Followed by design process tips, tricks, and Q&A compliments of CADjunkie.com.
And the whole time we'll be talking with our special guest, Fernd Van Engelen of Artifact Design Group in Seattle.
Welcome, Fern. It is such a pleasure to have you on the show with us today. If you had a choice between staying exactly as you are, or you could choose to cut off your left pinky finger in exchange for the ability to grow hair at up to 1 inch per second at will, would you do it?
Oh man, I don't think I've sent you my my recent picture yet, but the hair is rapidly disappearing, and while I do at times miss my my flowing locks from many moons ago, I don't think I would. You
don't need to lose any limbs over it.
Pinky, so
all right,
pinky over here.
Probably a judicious choice. Stay put. We'll be hearing more from you as the show goes on. Josh Mings of SolidSmack.com. Speaking of dubious hair growth strategies,
you know it.
Snip the floppy mop of ignorance with the barber shears of knowledge. What have you got for us this week?
Oh man, this week's SolidSmack Fact Smack is brought to you by Fortis 3D Production Systems. From your office to the factory floor, Fortis offers efficient digital manufacturing solutions for your business. Rock it at Fortis.com. Now, we're all a bit crazy about Kickstarter here. We talked about it on EVD Uncut.
And we've had a few guests on with Kickstarter projects here on EVD as well.
Kickstarter is cutting project funding to the quick, allowing many an entrepreneur to venture into business success without the need for venture capital.
Now, we have a few quick facts about Kickstarter before we get started.
Facts that at the rate Kickstarter is growing will continue to increase, no doubt. So, Kickstarter has had its 3rd birthday in April 2012. In those 3 years, they've had more than $175 million pledged and more than 20,000 successfully funded projects.
Perry Chen came up with the idea in 2001, quite a while ago.
Yep, Perry started working on the idea with Yancey Strickler in 2005.
Charles Adler joined in 2007.
And site development was slow, and in 2008, the plan nearly failed.
But with some helpful advice and technical guidance, they brought on 3 developers.
And officially launched Kickstarter in April of 2009. Yay. The highest grossing project as of this writing is the Pebble eWatch,
pulling in over 67,000 backers donating $10 million. Dang! For a customizable watch with its own software development kit.
And lots of colors to choose from. So, Fern, 999 bottles. On Kickstarter now. At the time we wrote this, you'd raised $47,888 of your $99,999 goal. What's the 999 bottles elevator pitch?
Let's see. So 999 bottles is a reusable water bottle that helps you keep track of and helps you visualize the impact that you have by using a reusable water bottle rather than the really nasty disposable ones.
Right, and so it's really interesting. It's got this clever way of kind of turning a little physical notch on it to show you how many water bottles you've saved by reusing this bottle over and over. So where did that idea come from?
There's a number of different things that informed it, but I think at the core, I have always found the disposable water bottle something really repulsive, and really wanted to do something about that. And there's some things within the company, the way we're structured, that allows us to explore these kind of things. So really what I wanted to do was to create a bottle that would encourage people to keep reusing the bottle rather than opting for the disposable one. And I can talk about this stuff for hours. So how far you want me to go?
Sure, sure.
All right. So why is it different from other non-disposable bottles like Core, Clean Canteen, Nalgene?
Nalgene, whatever.
It's actually interesting. One of the things I did early on in the project is I took a nice glass bottle, and I determined that I was going to keep reusing that. And what I did is I, with a little Sharpie, put a hash mark on it every time I reused it. And so I was actually surprised to see how that bottle changes over time, and the way you start to look at that bottle differently over time. And really, what I found is that when you can look at that bottle and know that you've reused it at say 147 times, and then you are able to start doing that math of what does that mean? How much money did I save? What would a stack of 147 bottles look like? How much oil does that represent? That's the part that sort of got interesting. And so the idea of 99 bottles, like you said, it has a simple dial along its circumference that helps you keep track of every time you refill it. And then there's an accompanying app that allows you to visualize what that means. So, at probably 10 or 12 bottles, you've recouped your initial investment. At 140 bottles, you're about a 12-story building. And the numbers go on and on.
So I mean, that's really amazing. And actually, I always, when I first saw the project, I thought, oh, that's kind of cute. Neat little way to keep track of your water savings, whatever. But I mean, actually, this is striking me as a pretty interesting thing. You're kind of it's like the online concept of gamification, turning everything into a sort of a game. Every time you refill your water bottle, you actively want to refill that bottle because it's the one that you've got your scorecard on. You get to notch up your score. It's cool stuff.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, historically, Kickstarter has been used by individuals or small groups with limited means. But Artifact, is a serious product design consultancy. Why did you feel that Kickstarter was the right place for this idea? And why was it right for Artifact specifically?
Yes, we are a serious design consultancy. I think I think traditionally product development has been sort of top down, and I think one of the things that's interesting about Kickstarter is that it's providing an opportunity for companies for ideas to move the other way, so bottom up. While we are a serious product development company, the business of design is different from the business of product development, and we are not a large manufacturing organization, and we don't have the manufacturing processes in house, and so Kickstarter provides a really nice platform for individuals and companies like ours to take a concept and try and bring it to market. And by no means are we the first design consultancy to go that route. And it's also a nice way for us to maintain control over the process and the product.
Right on. So besides it having a lot of numbers in it, like the project name, how did the $99,999 fundraising number come from?
So it's informed by what are the hard costs for the product. That's informed also by what dollar value do we put on our labor, and then also from looking at what do we think is a attainable target for the product. I mean, if you set the target too high, there's a high risk that you're not going to make it. If you set it too low, you run the risk of having to fund every bottle that you ship.
Right.
And then 9999 has a nice ring to it, right?
that's a lot of times that's what it comes down to, I guess.
That's part
Good stuff. All right. Well,
without a doubt, I want 999 bottles of 999 bottles. I think
that's going to be expensive.
that's a lot of bottles.
All right, we'll be right back.
A lot of fun.
Adam O'Hearn of CADJunkie.com. The time has come to dropkick our sloppy ignorance in the groin with a brick shoe of knowledge. What have you got for us this week?
This week's CAD Junkie Q&A is brought to you by Fortis 3D Production Systems. Fortis systems produce accurate, durable prototypes and production-grade parts using high-performance thermoplastics. See it all at Fortis.com. Better go check that out.
Wonderful. Today, we're chatting with Fernd Van Engelen of Artifact Design Group in Seattle. We've been talking about their latest Kickstarter project, 999 bottles.
So, for the listeners out there, just tell us a little bit about your team and how you work together, particularly on projects like this.
Artifact actually has or started off as a interaction design company. Company grew quickly in its first couple of years. We're 5 years old and 40-some people.
Wow.
It very quickly became obvious that industrial design needed to be part of the mix, and so I think one of the things that's unique about Artifact is where many design firms come into interaction design, many design firms have their roots in industrial design, and then started to dabble in interaction design. I think Artifact is actually one of few that came the other way, and I find that interesting. And the way it manifests itself, I think, is in a really tight integration in the disciplines. You can tell from, you can see from some of our work if you go to our website, artifactgroup.com, or you look at our Weevil or our Swipe products. I think one of the things that's unique about Artifact is that when we start design projects, we're sort of agnostic as to whether the solution should come from hardware or software or both.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, that's one of the things that's kind of cool about the 999 Bottles project is that really, it's not as much about a fancy new shape as it is about a new interaction, right? It kind of embodies what you're talking about, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, let's think differently about products, and let's see what opportunities are out there. The other thing that's sort of unique about Artifact is all the thinking as a company that we've done around the idea of where should design go next, and a lot of our thinking has sort of culminated in thinking around 21st century design, or design for the 21st century, and this sort of sense that as designers we really we're at the forefront of the products and experiences that come next, and because of that we end up with a responsibility for making choices. And I think 99 Bottles is a nice example of that. Is that when you design a product, and at the beginning of this project we had a choice. We could take it anywhere. So we've started to think about outcomes, and one of the outcomes for this project that we're interested in is how can we design a bottle that will actively discourage people from using disposable bottles, and try and put a dent in that that worrisome business.
Right. So you have this idea of trying to put a dent in the problem of non-reusable water bottles. But then, once you start designing it, how does that process start for you guys?
It started off as an internal project. As most consulting firms, most of the business obviously comes from client engagement. So this was a little side passion project of mine. So invested a bit of time in the project internally, and it sort of ended up with some nice CAD renderings and a blog post that we put out. The blog post actually was picked up by a number of places. Fasco picked it up, and a couple of other publications picked it up, and we started to get very positive feedback to it. So lots of encouragement, and some people actually encouraged us to go the Kickstarter route to make the product reality. And so we said, hell, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Yeah, I remember seeing it floating around out there. Was the process similar to what you might do for a regular client project? How is it different from designing a product for the mass market?
Well, it is intended for the mass market. I think probably obviously the biggest difference between this project and a project that we do for a client is the schedule, right? A client would never allow us to take this long with the project. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and what would you say was the biggest challenge in putting together this project for Kickstarter?
I think the dynamic of sort of balancing between design and behavioral goals and maintaining cost and quality to the point where we think that the product is viable. I think that's been it's taken some work, and that's
right.
not the easiest thing, but I think actually I think the biggest one really is on Kickstarter is sort of maintaining that traffic. And
how do you fund a guerrilla campaign like that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's really it, right? I mean, we don't have a established brand of product out there, and we don't have a established retail space. So really, it's about driving traffic to the Kickstarter site and creating that awareness.
See, Josh has this idea for like pink fuzzy bicycles that he wants to ride around Texas, and so he's trying to figure out how he can start that.
They're comfy, and I look good on them. That's all I can say.
All right.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
And welcome back. Today, as you know, we're chatting with Fernd Van Engelen of Artifact Design Group in Seattle.
We asked Fernd to come on the show because Artifact is a full-fledged product development firm with lots of experience designing real products for market, and yet they're choosing to use Kickstarter to push their latest product idea.
But we've talked a lot about the team and Kickstarter project already, so let's talk a little bit about Fernd. So, Fernd, when you go to a dinner party and someone asks what you do, how do you answer?
Depending on my mood, lots of different ways.
Yeah. But I think you've had to drink.
Yeah. That's right. Usually, I'll tell people I'm either a product designer or industrial designer, and
you find that works?
It always works. No, I think it always. The follow-up question, the conversation tends to go something like, what do you do? I'm a product designer. Oh, what kind of product? And then it's like, you name it, we've done it.
Right.
So it's anything from consumer electronics to medical equipment to refrigerators.
Right. Well, and so Fernd, where are you from, and how did you get interested in product design?
Wow. I was born in Nigeria, raised in Holland.
Wow.
Then after my first year of college, moved to Canada, and then eventually made my way to Seattle.
Wow.
Right on. Is there an engineer, designer, or architect who has really inspired you?
Yeah, at different times. I find myself. I think it's less about about an individual designer. I mean, there's lots of talented people out there. Lots of people whose work I admire. I tend to gravitate more towards individual products rather than one particular designer.
Right.
So
look at what they say, not who said it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what would you say as a product designer? What would you say is the best thing about your job?
I like for me, I like the variety. I think every project, brings its own unique set of challenges and opportunities. And even if you do a almost identical project for two different clients, turns out that the context is sufficiently different that it ends up becoming a different product. So. That's the part that's exciting. There's always something new, and in particular, this sort of this angst about not knowing at the beginning of a project where you're going to end up, and I think that always that's always.
So what is the hardest thing about your job then? On the other hand,
I think in every project, I think it's always about managing the limitations, and I think the really tricky thing to balance, to balance is this whole question of you always at some level want to do more or longer or whatnot, but this finding
you have to pick and choose.
Finding ways, pick and choose, and finding ways to deliver the biggest bang for the buck.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sometimes maybe the variety is your favorite thing about the job, but sometimes it means that there's so much. So you have an embarrassment of possibilities, embarrassment of riches to choose from.
Yep.
So, I mean, how can we get kids in the Western Hemisphere excited about engineering and design?
I think by producing great, by producing great products that truly stand out. I mean, I think it's I really believe that while the average person probably can't articulate what makes a particular product, or product experience awesome or great, I think they, for the most part, people are able to recognize the products that truly stand out. And for many years, people have used this example of, hey, I don't know how to program my VCR kind of thing. I mean, that's a product failure. Those kind of things, I think, discourage people from getting into the profession. But creating great product experiences and showing people what's possible, I think will encourage them. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Festo lighter than air autonomous robots. Those things are just insane, and it's pure engineer, pure design, pure engineering, whatever you want to call it. I think they're all merged. But
I would love to get one of those.
It's amazing, yeah.
So what advice would you have for a young person interested in going into engineering and design?
I think that the advice that I have for young designers really is develop a point of view. Develop a set of opinions as to what design, what engineering means to you, and I think that's the most valuable thing for a young designer. And my apologies to the engineering listeners out there. My contact is a little bit more on
Oh no, that's great. That's great advice for
anybody.
Listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There you go.
To all the listeners out there, be sure to check out the 999 Bottles Kickstarter project and show some love.
Show it.
Yeah, we'll link to it on the on EngineerVsDesigner.com for sure.
Definitely. Fernd, my man, we are out of time. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
If you'd like to send boxes of used plastic bottles to EVD HQ, please address those to Josh.
Yeah, I guess I'll take them. Engineer versus Designer, appreciate your comments. If you'd like to see us whacked repeatedly over the head with a sack full of water bottles, head over to EngineerVsDesigner.com and let us know how you really feel.
And if you'd like to see us bored, lonely, and confused, be sure to like us, +1 us, follow us, or whatever, as social media has been correlated with isolation and long hours in darkened rooms.
Yep, this show is edited by the Simon Martin. Our theme music is by Russ Hartman.
We'll see you next week, and remember that putting your dad's CD collection in the microwave is not only spectacular, it is a rite of passage.
It is.
A production of EVD Media.